even a better story. I remember my mom had applied for a teacher's position. And she walked into the office of the school, and the secretary, without even taking her in, asking a question, said, "Oh, the interviews are happening in the back." And she went, she didn't think anything of it. She went to the back, and she's sitting there, and she's sitting among everyone, and people are in, dungarees and jeans and T-shirts, and she said, "Oh, well, I'm really maybe overdressed for this teaching interview," whatever. She sat there waiting. Everybody's going in, and she went back to the front. She said, "I have an appointment." They said, "No, they'll see you. She went to sit back down, and everybody finally left. She came back to the front of the secretary. She said, "No, go back there." She said, "No, I have an appointment with the principal. I've missed it now." And I said, "What are you here for?" She said, "I'm here for the teacher's position." Her name's Nayam Anyoko. The woman's eyes looked like saucers. Went back to get the principal, brought him forward. He was so apologetic. And my mom, who had no exposure to racism growing up in an all-black country at this point, didn't even make the connections in the immediate moment, and they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. She thought you were here for the custodial position." And my mom went to the interview, and she left, and she would tell the story. She would say, "And the whole time I'm leaving there, I'm wondering what would make them think that was what I was there for."
Isn't that crazy?
Just how I'm dressed, how I've come, I said my name, she didn't even hear me. And my mom said it wasn't until way, way later that I started.
She did the snap. I told you that. That's it, baby.
Way. I realized that was racism.
Wow.
And I said, "Well, what was it about it that struck you?" She said, "Because I didn't know there was anything wrong with being black until I moved to America."
Damn.
She said, "It wasn't until later that I started realizing
Look at
that was racism." She said, "I so wished I could go back to that school and just bash that." She could have.
Yo.
It's so stupid.
Did you get called? Because I know in my honors English class, I remember this day, boy. I talk about it on stage too. And I go in. I remember being called the N-word. Man, and I was sitting next to I was honors English class, and the lady that was teaching, Miss Scarborough, black woman, she was mean as shit too. But now when I look at it, I'm like, she was probably going through some shit because she was one of the few black teachers. She was probably going through something. So she was looking at me like, I'm not doing you any favors. Like she had that energy with me. And so I remember these white dudes are just going like this, sometimes white dudes just feel like doing that. And fucking, I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? And I'm 13, 14, I'm like, what the hell, man? And I can't do nothing because, they usually outnumber you because they don't fight fair.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, man. And so my friend Larry Buhai, he's a Filipino guy. He's the only Filipino. And they're calling him, "You fucking chink, you did." And I go, "Dude, they're calling us like racial." He goes, "Dude, they're just playing." I go, that ain't a game, dude. He wanted to be with them so bad. I go, so I went back. I went to my dad. And I said, "Dad, they called me that, they called me that." He said, "Yeah, it's okay. Just do your homework. When you educate yourself, he would always just work hard. Ignore that?" I said, "I was working hard." They called me that.
I'm in
I was doing homework, and they called me that. Kind of tough. Right. I was working hard as shit, and I just hear the N-word. I mean, they weren't mispronouncing Nigerian. They weren't mispronouncing Nigerian because the G is soft. Right.
And there are one.
I think there's a difference though, because I've often wondered this, and I don't know if you guys find this to be true. Like our parents' ignorance, and I don't want to say ignorance like they didn't know, but them not using the history that happened in America as this shackle and I use that word on purpose, allowing us to be able to move past that. Like my parents didn't focus on racism because, like your mom that didn't even know, my dad was like, what does this mean? I don't even get it. And the same thing, like I didn't start to understand racism later until I got to college, really. It wasn't until then where I started to really, like, even so much so, story time. I was in Cleveland, Mississippi. They call this the
Lord
armpit
have
of
mercy.
Mississippi.
Wow.
And I'm roaming through, and I asked this guy, "Can I get a haircut?" And
Wait,
he goes,
what did he look like?
He was a white dude.
Oh,
but I had no
why
idea.
would you go
I had no idea. I'm a full-on adult here. And I said, "Can I get a haircut?" He
Oh.
goes, "We don't cut your top of hair here." And I'm going, "Oh, okay. No, actually, those are the clippers." I'm thinking
Yeah.
he doesn't know how to cut black hair.
Yeah.
I'm saying, no, those clippers right there. I actually use them.
You're
He goes, "Son,
hilarious.
I don't think you understand. We don't cut your top of hair." Again, flying right over me. I'm focused on, I have a thing that I'm trying
Yeah.
to get through. There's a
You
target.
do. You
That's
do.
where you're like, I need to cut
I
my
love
hair
Akbar.
before.
Let me help
Akbar's like
educate
this.
you.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And so I start to walk towards his thing. He steps and throws his towel over his shoulder, and he goes, "Son, I don't think you understand." I said, "Look, I'll pay you $20 to cut my own hair. I just need to cut it." And from that point, I walked out, and I'm going, "Oh, shoot. I think he was really saying, boy, you get the heck," and he gave me an address.
Let me help
to
you.
go all the way on the other side, the black side of town.
Yeah.
And I told the people there, they go, "Where you from?" "I'm from LA."
You had hair, did you have a lot of hair then?
No, I had my male pattern baldness that I was trying to hide. And I needed to
Take
keep it
your
low.
little bald ass down the street, damn it. We don't cut people with balding hair. Get out of
That
here.
was the first time, but again, there was scary, but then there was also power in
Wow.
that. I was driven towards this destination, like I'm going there. And I feel like
Wow.
I've operated that way in life too. And I see a lot of Nigerians moving in that way, despite what they say you can't do or you won't be able to do this or because of racism. We just continue to charge. Not to say that doesn't happen or it doesn't exist, but we continue to charge through. Did you find that true for your parents?
I think
and even for yourself?
Yeah, no, I think I know that experience, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think I had a more of a bit of a mix, you know. My experience, because I definitely was called the N-word.
Boston.
And in Boston, of
Yes.
course. And mine was one where my parents, when the light bulb went on
Yeah.
about how this country operates as it relates to race, my parents made it top priority for us to know not only its existence, but to understand that it has zero relevance as it relates to who you are and your power. And what I say by that is, because my mom, you know, like I said, this is a woman who, in a place during a war where there's no place for women, is battle crawling to front lines and bringing the news back. This is a fearless woman whom I was raised by. This is a woman with spunk and fire. And I know that's true of all of our parents.
No
right?
doubt.
But I'm just setting the table.
Yes.
So I remember, and also, by the way, I think it's also important for me to say that she also had the testing work done on my older brother and sister, who were really the trailblazers moving into Boston for me, because they're
because
8
they
and
were
6 years older than me,
okay,
respectively,
yeah.
right? So she had seen what that can look like. And I'll tell 2 quick stories. Number one, the first one from my brother, who was firstborn, who really had to go through a lot and experience frontline, horrible racism in a bullying form, and kids who would throw his lunch out, beat him up at the school bus, and, you know, getting picked on. He came to my mom one day and he said, "Mommy, these kids are doing all these things. You tell me I'm not supposed to fight, you know, but this is what's happening." And she said, "Okay, let me tell you now, this will happen. The next time you not to hit first, but if they strike you, you just beat them so bad. I don't care what you do. I'll be there for you." So then it just so happened that on this weekend, my mom's home, washing dishes, looking out the window to the backyard. My brother is minding his business in our yard, playing soccer. And these neighborhood kids show up, pretending to be my brother's friend, saying they want to play with him. They ask him to play soccer with him. He kicks the ball to him innocently. One of these children takes the soccer ball, kicks it over, there was a literal railroad track that run behind our house, over the tracks into the woods. They come charging at him, beat my brother up. My brother now has permission, right? So he knocks this one black into his eye. My mom
Sometimes it takes
sees
that one.
That's right.
Boom.
That's
Got
right.
him.
She sees the whole thing. She goes round the neighborhood with my father to each of the houses and explains to them how these boys have been picking on her son, calling him this name, this thing, destroying his lunch. And if this happens again, I'll be involving the police. Go to school Monday. Little boy, black and eye.
Love it.
The teacher says to him, what happened? He said, Ricky hit me. She doesn't ask another question of my brother. Doesn't ask another question of this boy. Sends my brother to the office. My brother is immediately suspended. They call my mom and tell her she needs to pick up her son because he's struck a boy at school.
Just no other story.
And my mother said, did you ask my son what happened? He said, no. She said, okay, I'll be right there. She called my father and said, you need to come to the school. He's like, I'm at work, so I don't care. We're going to the school now. She goes to the school, so she said, okay. So,
Keep going.
I love this.
so he asked my son that, you tell me that my son is suspended from school for hitting this boy, right? He said, yes. He said, do you ask my son what happened? He said, no. He said, Do you ask the boy what happened? He said, no. She said, So you just decided to suspend my son without knowing exactly what happened that this boy got a black eye? I said, yes. She said, if I told you that I saw this fight on the weekend and that it's already been resolved, that it was this boy, in fact, who hit my son, and my son was defending himself, and I've gone to all the parents around the neighborhood and addressed it, because you all here, when my son has been telling you they've been calling him this thing, riffraff, whatever, you're not addressing it. You've not done anything. That's what happened. And he's standing there, the principal, black, wide-eyed, shocked. And my mother said,
Uh-oh.
this is what will happen. If ever again I come to this school for something like this, I will sue you. I will sue this teacher. I will sue this school. This school will go from being called T.A. Black School
my God.
to the Uzo Aduba.
That's the best.
There is nothing worse than a Nigerian mother.
Mom, you ain't never lied. That is all our moms. That's all our moms.
Because it's the questions. You're like, where's this going? Like, wow.
The Uzo Aduba.
That's so great.
Oh,
True story.
That's another 154 conversation in the books. We are bridging culture back to its roots.
From Africa to the world, we're telling stories our way.
So make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share your voice in the comments. This is 154.